You know those scattered thoughts that consume your mind at intervals during the course of an ordinary day? Like the things on your to-do list that never quite make it to the completed status, despite your best efforts. Or the looming project you just don't have the capacity to finish on your own. You've tried to enlist help, but still keep falling short. And if you're anything like me, it's tempting to believe these small details of life are too insignificant to offer up in prayer. But friend, maybe that is where we all too often make a mistake. Because what if the little things are where God wants to show us how big He truly is? I recently experienced this in a very specific way, and even now, several weeks later, I'm still in awe of the way things worked out. Some of you may remember me mentioning the excessive rainfall we had in December and January. The saturated ground and minor flooding complicated some of the conveniences of everyday life. And during one week in particular, I watched my dad work nonstop on a project that would have been challenging for several men together, not to mention one going at it alone. It's not that others weren't willing to help, but without going into all the details, the timing was off, and family and friends with the necessary equipment to make the project more efficient either needed to have repair work done or had their units tied up in other jobs. To top it off, rental rates for the same machinery were outrageous, and I found myself an overwhelmed bystander watching from a distance, wondering how and when everything would get done. Until one morning on the way to work, a thought hit me. Give it to God. Just give it to Him, fully and completely, and see what He will do. So I did. I started talking to Him, naming 2 specific projects that seemed impossible for a quick resolution. I told the Lord I knew in the grand scheme of life there were much more urgent needs, but I shared how the thoughts had been weighing me down, how helpless I felt, and how the options seemed very limited. I told Him I was making a conscious choice to leave the matter in His hands, and I chose to let go of the burden of worry. I even took the liberty to ask for a time frame. If it was at all within His will, would He please make a way for both projects to be accomplished in 2 weeks' time? And with that, I released the outcome to the Lord, never expecting what happened next. The following day, a small dog wandered onto the property near where my dad was working. A short while later, the dog's owner showed up, a man who was new to the neighborhood. After pointing out which direction the dog had gone, Dad engaged the man in conversation, and the two fell into easy small talk. One thing led to another, and it turns out the new neighbor was in the same line of business needed for one project, and had a friend who could probably do the other one. And are you ready for this? For a fraction of the price most companies charge, within 2 weeks, both projects were complete. To say I was stunned is an understatement. Once again, when the odds seemed impossible, God came through in a way I could not have planned, predicted, or prepared for. I'm well aware He is not a God who caters to our every whim or wish. But He is a good, good Father who delights in caring for His children. And as my niece recently said, it's amazing when God does big things for us. But when He does small things for us, it's almost even more amazing. Because He is so big, yet He cares enough to be involved in the small details of our lives.